iPurchase system. I will start by showing the entry screen to the iPurchase. This is the screen that all users will see once they search for the URL for the iPurchase. They will put their username and password. Also, they can pick their language. iPurchase comes out of the box with these languages built into it. All the header information fields will change to the language that they pick. For this demonstration, we will stick with English. We hit the login button, and what happens is we end up at the rec inquiry screen for iPurchase. This is where you will be able to search through the system for specific requisitions. We will be coming back to this later in the demonstration. We're going to begin by creating new recs. A new requisition can be created in 3 different ways. You can either do a punch-out, a catalog, or a manual requisition. A punch-out is a requisition that, based on the supplier, goes to their website, and you are able to pull back the line items that you put in your shopping cart on the supplier's website. The pricing for the supplier website is based on a negotiated price that your company and the supplier have established. So what a user would do would click this, we're going to use CDW, would be click CDW, and iPurchase will then send you to the supplier's website. The user will then pick the items they would like to create a requisition for, and as they create the line items, they will check out just like any other e-commerce website. Once they check out, they will return to iPurchase, and all of the items that they chose will be included in the new requisition that has been created from the punch-out. The second way to create a requisition in iPurchase would be to use a catalog. A catalog is a type of requisition that allows the user to also use a cart, but the supplier does not have punch-out functionality. So what iPurchase allows the administrator to do is to load an electronic catalog from the supplier. Once the catalog is loaded, the user can then go in and he picks the supplier, and then it segments, segment, family, class, and commodity to make the list smaller of what the user is trying to look for. So if we go through, as I pick different items in the drop-down menu based off the supplier, the list will be created below. If we pick hand tools, if we keep going, the list will get shorter and shorter and shorter. And I could just add items to a cart and then check out, just like an e-commerce site or like a punch-out. But this is all within the iPurchase system. Once the user checks out, it will pull back all of the line items that they chose and place it into a requisition for the approval process to begin once the user submits the requisition. What I really want to show today, though, is how to create a manual requisition within iPurchase. So to create a manual requisition in iPurchase, the user would click the New Rec button on the bottom of the screen, and they would end up at this screen. This is called the Requisition Workbench screen. As you can see, there is header information here. To start to enter a requisition, the user would select a specific supplier. As you start to type the specific supplier's name into the supplier field, you will get a pop-up of the supplier with the supplier's account number. When you click on that, it actually fills in the supplier phone number, the fax, the contact, the supplier email address. It adds the supplier number. Once you pick the supplier, you can then go through the header information. You can pick your ship to and bill tos, your site, the currency that you'd like to use, who pays the freight, how it's being delivered, what type of requisition you would like to do. Requisition types are created in the system settings, so this is an administration-based list. We'll leave it as expense today. You can create a need date. When do you need the items? You can change the buyer. The buyer can, though, be set by a default based on requisition type. When I click Save, the requisition workbench now allows me to add new items to the requisition. Also, you'll see that the originator has been placed, the on behalf of, the deliver to. So a user can actually create a requisition for someone else within your company. So I'm going to add a line item to this requisition. I'm going to click the new item, and we get a pop-up screen now of the item name. To add an item, I'm going to start to type again, just like the supplier, and it will give me a list of my items that are in my ERP solution. I click on the item, and once I click on the item, it will load the quantity, the cost, the sub-cost, maybe, and then the site, department, account, and sub-account can all be changed based on what the user would like to add to this line item. Sorry about that. So I am going to change the quantity here to 50, and I'm going to change the cost to 75. When you save a line item, the system will tell you that the record is created, and now you can add notes, attachments, and master comments to the line item. I'm going to save and close the line item, and as I save and close, now the line item has been added to the requisition. Also, what can happen here is now that we added a line item and a dollar amount, there should be an approval history. And what this approval history tab does is it actually gives you a simulation of who needs to approve this requisition. The approval rules can be based on any field of dollar amount within the system. So for example, if I go back and I change the ship via to FedEx Ground and I save the rec, and I go to the approval history, now you'll notice that I added Ron, Bill, and Alex to the rec, requisition simulation, and the approval process once this is submitted. It can also be done based on dollar amounts. So for example, if I add more quantity, let's say, to this line item and I save and close it, you'll notice that Frank was now added to the approval history, to the approval routing. That's because Frank's rule states that if approval is over $5,000, he will be added to the approval process. You'll notice, though, that Alex has to be the first approver on this requisition. But Alex has a little boat next to his name, and what that boat means is that he is out of office. So Alex, before he went on vacation, he set his out of office. The out of office was then, he set the delegate for his out of office to be Bill Cox. So now if I submit this requisition, Bill will get the email notification since Alex is out of office for him to approve the rec. No one else in this approval process will get an email notification until the person before them has approved the rec. You'll notice that there is an approval level column here. What the approval level column does, it allows the system to place approvers in a specific order that the administrator has set within the approval rules. This order allows Alex to be the approver before Frank, and then it goes to Bill's. Now, Bill's approval level is 400, and so is Ron. So they both have to approve the requisition in order for the approval process to move to Craig. If you would like just one of them to be able to approve at the level 400, you would have to create a group for them. That group, as you can see, would be like the finance group at level 930. So once Craig approves it at the 910 level, both Jim and Alex would both get an email saying they have to approve the requisition. Only one of them would have to approve. Once one of them approves, a PO would be created in the system. So I'm going to take everybody off mute for a second and see if there's any questions. Anyone have any questions? Okay. So, I'm going to remute everyone and continue. As the approval process runs, as I said, they will get email notifications based on where they are in this approval routing phase. They can approve or reject an email, a requisition from an email notification directly. They do not have to come back into the My Purchase system. We will be going over email notifications later in the month. We have another webinar set up for, I believe it's September 14th, for the email notifications. If you'd like to join us then, we will be sending out an invite for that. So from here, let's go back into requisition inquiry for a second, and let's discuss how to search for a rec. As you can see from this screen, the top half of the screen is your search criteria. So what this is saying now is it is looking for all recs that are in a pending state that Frank is the approver. As you can see from the bottom here, there are no requisitions that fit this criteria. And if I change it to approved and I hit show recs, you'll see that all of these recs are in the system that have Frank as an approver and have been approved. So all of these recs have met this criteria. If a user would like to see all recs, they would just remove the filter completely. Now let me just preface this by saying that this has to do with security. When the system is set up, the administrator will give the right to specific users that can see all recs. So don't think that anyone that's using the system will be able to see everyone's rec. This is based on security. So now that we see all the requisitions here, I can search through the recs by any of these fields. So I can do it by rec type. Let's say I only wanted to see expense recs. Or based on buyers, and I only wanted to see Craig Wolf's requisitions that he was the buyer on. I can do that with these fields as criteria. Also, what is allowed to do is you're allowed to create favorites. And what a favorite is it's a view. So if a user seems to use a specific view constantly or a lot, they can save the view and just use this drop-down menu and select what view they would like to see so they don't have to always enter the search criteria. from this point, I would like to show you an approved requisition. So once we go, I'm going to go into Rec T403709. When I click on that, I'm in the approved requisition. You can tell that it's approved by the approved word in the center of the screen up here. Also, you will notice that there's a PO number now, and it gives me PO options across. It also adds my PO receipts to a tab in the requisition, so I don't have to go into the PO inquiry to see if there are any receipts based on this PO. If I go back to the header information, I want to see the PO, I can click on the PO Order Inquiry button. I click on it, and the system will then move me to the PO Inquiry field. I can clear the filter here, and this will show me all the POs that are in the system. I can search by PO number. I can search by supplier number. Also, if I click on the little shopping cart here, it will show me the line of the PO. So now it tells me if it's closed, how many I've ordered, how many I've received, returned, and how many have I invoiced. And it will show you all the lines of the requisition or the purchase order right here at the bottom of the screen. You can also print the requisition, the purchase order, sorry, or I could show receipts. I'm going to go back, though, to the requisition inquiry and back to the rec that we were just on. From here, so from the header, I can also print the rec, so I don't have to go into PO inquiry. I could show PO archive, show me different revisions of a purchase order that have been made. This is telling me, this little yellow circle here will tell me, or any user that uses the system, if this PO is still opened or closed. And the checkbox here is a PO confirmation status. The PO confirmation status allows the supplier to send back a confirmation that they have received the purchase order. This is set up in the system settings within iPurchase. And once the supplier clicks on the link in the purchase order, the confirmation link that is, this checkbox will turn from yellow to green. That is how you would look for or search for a PO in the system. You can also actually just go to PO inquiry right from the bottom of the screen right here. Last but not least, for this webinar, since we only have about 5 to 10 minutes left, I would like to just touch upon any metrics or analytics or graphs that we have built into iPurchase. So I'm going to clear the filter again so I can show all requisitions. And the first thing I'm going to show you is the graphing function of iPurchase. So here's the graphing function for iPurchase. This is based on all recs. Once again, I can search for any criteria, and then the graph will show what I am searching for. So as you can see, that you can group the graph by anything in this drop-down, so supplier, account, department, if I would like, ship to, bill to, the buyer. What is also nice, though, is, so right now this is being grouped by account. I'm going to go back to the supplier, and so you'll notice that all the suppliers are listed on the bottom, and there's also a table here for all the suppliers and the dollar amounts. I'm going to click, so these graphs are drill downable, so I can click on the CDW. Now it's telling me what buyers were used for CDW and how much they approved requisitions for. I can then drill down again if I'd like, and now it's telling me what department Craig Wolfis approved requisitions for and what was created for a PO. So as you can see, this department used the most, $7,235,520.30. The other function that we have for analytics on iPurchase is the metrics. Metrics gives you a snapshot of the iPurchase system. I am going to remove the filter though, and I'm going to go back into the metrics. So now I'm showing all requisitions. As you can see, every cell can be exported to Excel. So let's go through this table a little bit. So we can do activity by originator. So this is telling me how many recs Frank put in, how many were approved, how many were rejected, what was the average hours, and how many were rejected and by what code. The next cell tells me how long it took each approver to approve a requisition, the average time it took, and how many they approved and how many they rejected. So as you can see, Supervisor 1 here approved 193 recs and rejected 13, but his average hour of approval was 81.1 hours. That's bad. So you could see that this is turned red. This is a system setting in iPurchase. You, the administrator, gets to pick what the average hours is before the cell turns red. There's also a setting for the cell to turn yellow. If we move over to the left, it says we can see the cycle time by month. So here's the months and how many were approved, how many were rejected, and what was the average hours. It tells me how the rejection codes and the analysis of that. So 17 were rejected for incorrect account, 7 were rejected for unknown, and 7 were rejected for incorrect pricing. And the bottom gives me a snapshot of the activity summary by originator. So if we use Frank again for the example, we can see that he had 13 rejected, total recs 26, approved 703. He still has 148 pending, and he has 980 recs not submitted. This gives a good snapshot of what could be improved within the iPurchase, within the process that the user is using in the iPurchase system. I can see that we're about 5 minutes to the end, so I'm going to open this back up to everyone to see if there's any questions. The lines are now open. Okay, so I guess there are no questions. Please let us know if you would like us to do a demonstration, a personal demonstration for you, or if there are any other questions you would like to email us about. And on that note, I am going to end the meeting. I hope you all have a good day, and thank you for attending.